أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله وهو العلي العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Family, Juma Mubarak. All praises, inshallah. We'll open up with prayer, read these 4 short surahs 4 times each, inshallah. Pray everyone is having a beautiful Ramadan, a beautiful Juma. All praises. And once we finish with prayer, we will open up the floor for Oracle Zema Love Fire, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله وهو العلي العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Al-Fatiha 4 times, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Surah Ikhlas 4 times, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Surah Al-Falaq 4 times, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falak. Min sharri ma khalaq. Wa min sharri ghasiqin idha waqab. Wa min sharri nafathati fil uqad. Wa min sharri hasadin idha hasad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falak. Min sharri ma khalaq. Wa min sharri ghasiqin idha waqab. Wa min sharri nafathati fil uqad. Wa min sharri hasadin idha hasad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falak. Min shari ma kalak. Wa min shari ghasikin idha waqab. Wa min shari nafathati fil uqad. Wa min shari hasidin idha hasad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falak. Min shari ma kalak. Wa min shari ghasikin idha waqab. Wa min shari nafathati fil uqad. Wa min shari hasidin idha hasad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Astaghfirullah. Surah An-Nas 4 times, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, minal jinnati wan nas. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, minal jinnati wan nas. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, minal jinnati wan nas. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, minal jinnati wan nas. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ayatul Kursi. Allahu la ilaha illahu al-hayyul qayyum la taqutuhu sinatun wa la nawm. Lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fil ard, man dhal ladhi yashfa'u indahu illa bi idhnihi, ya'lamu ma bayna aydihim wa ma khalfahum wa la yuhitun bi shay'in min ilmihi illa bima sha'a, wasi'a kursiyyuhu samawati wal ard wa la ya'uduhu hifdhuhuma wa huwa al-'aliyyul 'azim. Amin. Salatul Fatiha. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad فاته لما أبلك وكاتمي لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره والمقدار العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلاة النبي في الجمعة إن شاء الله. اللهم صل على محمد بيدادي. استغفر الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد بيدادي أنفاس مخلوقتي. اللهم صل على محمد بيدادي أشعار مأجورتي. اللهم صل على محمد بيدادي حروف الله ودعوتي. اللهم صل على محمد بيدادي البداية والنهاية من موجود وموجود إلى بعد الأبد. وصلى الله على خير خلقه محمد وآله أجمعين. Barke Serene Salihu, 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 Barke Serene Salihu. Amen. All praises, all praises. 7:15 is the time. Juma Mubarak to the family. I believe the beloved Oracle, Sister Zema Love Fire, is ready and available. The floor is yours, beloved sister, beloved Oracle. Astaghfirullah.
Bismillah, thank you so much for that beautiful entrance, Sheikh Mustafa. I'm so grateful to be here. Just thank you for the invitation to be able to come and speak. So I'm just gonna jump right on in here. So what I'll be talking about tonight is what does spiritual shifts look like? me being an energy practitioner and working with several clients over the years, that's always the question: what can I expect? What are the things to look for? What does growth and expansion actually look like in real, everyday working time? And the first thing I want to say is it's not usually very pretty at all. It stretches you way beyond your comfort zone. There is really no comfort zone. You have to learn how to really deal with and face fear and how to collapse that. There's just the different levels of transmuting things and being able to shift vibration, being able to read the room, as they say, really being in tune with your intuitive bodies, and having a deeper understanding of what's really going on in that moment, and being very present with that. So with that being said, I just want to kind of walk us through some of the things that you can expect. And it's different from person to person. So there's no definite, filing going on. Everybody receives something different on different levels, as we all have different paths and different goals, different dreams, and whatever that looks like for you, for your particular energy signature, okay? So I want to start off with talking about some of the mental and psychological shifts that tends to happen. Because if you're really looking at yourself from an honest and perspective of allowing yourself to have some understanding and realization of what it is that you do need to work on. So how we kind of go about that is looking at what your triggers are. What are the things that really tend to get under your skin, if there are any things like that get under your skin? Those moments and that emotional feeling that you bring forward is exactly what you need to be looking at. That's the teacher in the situation. So jumping into this mental and psychological shift aspect. Okay, so starting off, we have like improved memory. So, the reason for this is because as you are building up what we call our light quotient, and that is, you can get that through zikr, you can get that through prayer, you can get that through, meditation, just a lot of different avenues that you can tap into that light. And as we build up that light, that inner fog starts to dissipate. And so to be even more specific and go deeper, that inner fog also can look like what we call psychic mucus over on some of the other spiritual sides of removing things energetically and spiritually from people. So when we have this psychic mucus, this sticky stuff that's kind of on the inside of us, that's kind of blocking certain things, so when we talk about doing energy work, these are some of the things that some of these energies can actually address with helping to break down some of these different types of psychic mucus. And, we'll talk about later, just wind and fire in the body and how all of these things affect us and shake us, if you will, from the inside out. So you removing some of that fog through doing the work and opening up that space. This is a part of the widening of that space. As much as we can talk about the pituitary gland and the pineal gland, at the end of the day, you still have to be able to expand the space around it so that when it does actually come into being fully activated, it actually has the energetic space to do so. So we do sometimes have to make room for the expansion to happen. Even a lot of times when people's heart chakra is opening and expanding, it can feel like pressure on the rib cage a little bit, because it literally is like a cracking open of a new you, like this seed that is starting to kind of burst through. And so sometimes we can feel energetically that pressure. So improved memory. You'll also find that all of a sudden you just can pull up things a lot quicker. Your memory just seems to be a lot sharper. You may only have to be shown something one time, and then you have it, and it's like a remembrance, like it activates a remembrance in you, and everything just seems really natural. It's a natural flow. You start to have a lot of your memories, start to really open up, and this leads to you having a higher sense of self as well. And being aware of more of those subtle thoughts, those keen thoughts. When we say subtle thoughts too, that's kind of tapping into your subconscious mind and those thoughts that are kind of running in the backtrack that we don't tend to normally be aware of. And we can kind of say subliminal a little bit too. This can kind of tie into some of the more interesting side of things where some people may not know, but sometimes if you are shopping in certain type of department stores, sometimes they'll run a silent kind of backtrack in the music that's being played that is to discourage people from stealing out of the store. And sometimes people can hear that subtle backtrack. I've heard it before sometimes, and it's kind of crazy because you're like, wait a minute. But yeah, sometimes there's other subtle things that are happening under the surface that you may be able to tap into on a more keener level. There's even been times where humans have been able to hear like the dog whistles and things like that, even really lower or higher pitched things that are not normally so keen for our natural hearing. So we're told. And also a very healthy curiosity for deeper understanding of things. There's a natural inclination to want to know more about spiritual development and different systems, just being drawn to that, being drawn to the crystals and, all of the things that we're pretty much told not to look at. You all of a sudden take a liking to want to know more about those things. They just seem more interesting to you. And you want to get all the books you can get and listen to all the lectures. And then you want to find people that are in that same, class of thought with you. So that's how you start to tap into those communities, and, you start gaining camaraderie. And from there, it just kind of flowers into a lot of other things. Another thing you also start doing is you begin to piece things together. It's like fragmented pieces start to fall into a particular sequence. And so this is really tying into like when you just couldn't figure things out, and then all of a sudden something just clicks and it makes sense. It's kind of like that aha moment where it's like, wait a minute, this was so simple. How come I could not figure this out? This is so simple. And so it's things like that that really start to happen where there's this sense of like clarity that really comes in. So more and more you're beginning to really see the undertaking of things a lot more easier, and you're able to better process those things. You also become more solution-based. Instead of spending your energy currency on complaining and, being upset about things, you shift your energy on trying to understand how you can do better the next time around. What can you learn from that situation? And, should you move forward with that particular thing, what can you do differently so that you can have a better outcome? So you start to be solution-minded on, how to get past those next levels that you keep kind of getting stuck on, because again, the clarity wasn't all there. So as these pieces start to fall in place for you, the more and further you're able to go on your path, and on your journey. You also start to develop more positive self-talk and positive affirmations. So this is like you literally being your own cheerleader. This is you telling yourself, yes, I can do this. Yes, this may be something hard, but I'm built and strong enough to do hard things. And I can do this, I can keep going. I have what it takes. And so those are the things that, you start to do. And you also start to, again, look for the solutions, to supporting, even your own positive talk, do the things, that make you feel good as well. That is doing your self-care, you're spending time out in nature, meditating, stretching, doing whatever makes you feel good, from the inside out. And just, you're more open to accepting facts and truth. You don't have a problem with researching and looking into, the truth and looking for the facts and looking to understand. And you want to get your hands on all of the knowledge and all of the information that is out there for you to be able to, figure out, how to put these pieces together and what's next and what's happening. So you really want to tap into, the things that are under the money. You grow bored at the everyday, whatever the news is talking about. None of that stuff is no longer, satisfying your need for information and knowledge. It is not resonating with you anymore. You're not interested, you come to a place where you realize it's the same old day in, day out. We already know something bad happened to somebody somewhere over something, right? So you get over it and you start to thirst for a different level of knowledge, and spiritual understanding. And, you really want to get past the mundane stuff and get underneath the surface. You're trying to get to the root of a thing. And as I'm learning now in my journey, I'm trying to get to the seed, because if the seed was bad, the roots are tainted. And if the roots are tainted, the tree is tainted, and the branches and the leaves and so forth. So sometimes we even have to go to the seed. And then if we want to go another layer, we can ask the question of what was the quality of the soil? What was the quality of the soil that nurtured the seed, that gave way to the roots, that grew the tree, that grew the branches? Okay, see, that's what I'm saying. It's levels. So we can go on and on and on about that, but these are the kind of things where you begin to open up that book, and okay, someone said, peace, could I repeat that about the trees? Okay, so what I was saying is, when we're on our search, when we're on our journey, a lot of times, we're told to go to the root of it. And what I was saying is, in my journey up until this part, I've been shown to also examine the seed, because, what nurtures the seed, the seed, gives way to the roots, and then, like I was saying, if we want to take it to a whole nother level, then we ask what was the quality of the soil that nurtured the seed. Because if that chemistry, of all those nutrients and compounds aren't, just right, it can throw some balance off. It can throw some things off a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And so those things can show up in a multitude of different ways. We can look at that and, how trauma, is formed. And if there's something, a part of you that wasn't fully developed for whatever reason, what does that look like energetically for you? How has that been playing out in your life? Has that affected your ability to trust? Has that affected your ability to really love? Have you felt safe? Did you feel welcomed here? Not just here, but here in your body, here on this planet, here as another being walking around. So many of us are here, and even though us being here is not in vain, it's the fact that sometimes not having a certain kind of welcome committee, if you will. This is why certain cultures, Native American cultures, certain African cultures, Mayan cultures, certain cultures would do rituals that would invite the baby in. And this is the reason why you would see everybody holding the baby, passing the baby around. I've actually been in baby blessing ways in that way, where everyone will have the baby and you will whisper in that baby's ear your blessings, what you would want to speak, into this beautiful new being here. Tell them that you love them, and you pray that their steps are beautiful, and whatever's on your heart to share with that child. That those are some of the things that we do to make someone being birthed into this, feel welcome, and comfortable. We kind of get ushered in and pushed in so quickly. And a lot of times birth is such a trauma. I actually have a Reiki system that I have called Birth Trauma Reiki. Okay. And this was literally developed because so many people endure so much trauma already, just a mental, psychological trauma, just trying to be born. What does it do to you energetically when some forceps are used? What does it do to you energetically when, epidural, and all of these drugs? What is that? What is the energetic aftermath and symptoms of that look like? And the physiological, like, what does that really look like? This is the part that, we seldom talk about. We hear so much about, the side effects, the physical side effects, but we don't really hear about, just the energy amassed because of that particular trauma, and how that has affected, the energy system, of a person's body. Even when we talk about our chakras, I like to talk about chakras in terms of thinking about fuses, right? Because just like how a fuse can blow, your chakras can blow a fuse too. And so when you also think about the chakra systems being connected to organ systems and certain organs, so if you start to weaken that particular chakra and it starts to blow out a fuse, that can look like a heart attack. That can look like kidney failure. So it's very, 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 very important that we understand how energy affects us, and, just the long haul ramifications. Even with traditional Chinese medicine, there's on the physical side of talking about, because I'm kind of shifting over into the physical side, and organ changes and things like that. So we have, anger, weakens the liver, grief weakens the lungs, worry weakens the stomach, stress weakens your heart and brain, and fear weakens your kidneys. Okay. So you think about the fact that we do live in a world that has a terrible habit of pushing a lot of these emotional filled sequences to us. Whether it's war or a food shortage or a pandemic or the next big thing that's out to get you, the boogeyman, the monsters, whatever it looks like, whatever the boogeyman is on any given Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's always a boogeyman that is going to get us, and that keeps us always on this anxiety, fight or flight kind of energy, where we never quite feel settled in ourselves. We always feel like, how I would explain it is being slightly off your axis, an energy leakage. It's kind of like when there's a part of your soul that's slightly kind of sitting offset from your physical body, and it throws your equilibrium off. And so with that, everything ultimately, can get thrown off. So these are some of the energy things of what it looks like energetically when we say someone may be bipolar. Because there's literally a part of you that is outside of you that's functioning on a subconscious level with the physical part of you. And so because part of you is out, it's creating this dynamic shift. So one of the things about me as an energy worker, you know, when I'm able to see that when I'm working on people, I'm like, oh, you kind of hanging out yourself a little bit. Let's kind of, you know, and I'm really getting into some of the, you know, deeper aspects of the kind of work that I do. To be completely honest with you, I am, you know, a Reiki master, definitely trained, going on 11 years, but I will tell you that a lot of work that I do also came from what I was able to remember. This is definitely not my first lifetime doing energy work, but definitely starting there was an opening. And so what we're really talking about is the opening. You know, everybody has a different opening that sparks that expansion for you. And it looks different, you know, depending on, you know, wherever you find yourself, you know. Ultimately, you know, as they say, we're all really holding hands and walking each other home. And so, you know, everybody is taking and picking up, you know, their different set of tools to get wherever it is they're trying to get, you know. Salam Orgo, can you? Okay, so I was asked to speak again about the bipolar. So what I'm really speaking on is talking about the spiritual, the physical and some of the organ shifts, you know. So I was just kind of using an example because when you're someone who does energy work and you're able to actually see what that looks like energetically, I was just describing what bipolar kind of looks like. And so it's basically like you're having an energy leak, you know, in a sense where, you know, part of the soul is actually slightly sitting off axis from the body. It's not fully sitting inside. It's almost like you're kind of beside yourself a little bit. And so the bipolar part comes in when, because of you being slightly out of your body, there's a subconscious backtrack that's running. And so your physical mind and this other part of this other shift of yourself that's outside is trying to communicate, and it's creating like this weird space. And see, this is the reason why meditating is super duper important, is because the more you're able to meditate and open up that spiritual space within yourself and really be able to feel your physical self more, you can tell if something feels off. One of the things that I'll say a lot of times is when that happens, that can create wind in the body because, you know, it's a in and out, right? So you're not sealed up is the point. Because the point is you need to be pushed, you know, that energy needs to be pushed back in and then it needs to be sealed off. So with that being said, you know, we talk about wind, you know, being in the body. So sometimes if you tend to hear like swirls or like, you know, you feel like this, sometimes it can feel like a cool breeze kind of moving literally like through your brain, almost like feeling this cold air, like in your ears, kind of hearing wind kind of sounds literally. Some of this stuff is usually pretty on point. And sometimes always feeling cold, like no matter what, you just always seem to be like cold, and not necessarily like a sick level of cold, but just like you notice that you just, it's like some kind of coolness, like a slight feeling of Vicks vapor rub kind of, you know, over, and usually whatever side the leakage is at, you may feel a coolness on that side of the body more often. But yeah, So, but moving on, but also just having, more brain capacity, which opens you up to more awareness, because the more you are aware, the more you're able to tap into your intuitiveness in the first place. So that's the whole, reason, for even tapping into all of that, is because, you opening that is opening the awareness and opening up your capacity, to bring in, higher levels with awareness. Okay, there's a lot of conversation going on in the chat. Just want to see if I'm missing any questions. Yeah. So I want to say having an energy leakage is not necessarily akin to any type of things that necessarily have to do with, dealing with jinns or jinn energy. That's not necessarily like a connection there. This is more so just talking about the fact that, so we have our auric field, we have several layers of, an auric field that is around us. And sometimes we get holes and tears in that, because as we're moving around, you're not always aware. You don't always see what it is that you're walking through that you don't see. There's a whole unseen world that you're moving through. And just because you don't see, all of those things, doesn't mean that all of those things don't see you. And so this is another reason why we do a lot of our spiritual work, while we call in our protection, is because of the things that we can't see, really. Because if most of us saw the things that we can't see, most of us would definitely probably not do so well in those situations. I've definitely had dreams where I've seen some of the things that I've been walking through, and so sealing those holes. So as far as crystals are concerned, if you are also concerned about feeling any type of energy leaks can also look like on the physical. That can also look like you feeling extremely tired and feeling fatigued, things like that. Now, there's a difference, because I have to kind of give this disclaimer because of some of the comments and some of the questions. So in terms of, if you're dealing with, dark energy that somebody has sent to you, or someone sent, a bad jinn or something, to come and hurt and harm you, that feeling is something totally different. That is more like extreme panic attacks. You're talking about nightmares, you're talking about just a lot of fear complexes coming up that you did not have before. You just feeling, literally feeling like you're under attack, and having the intuition to feel like something is trying to do something to you. It's waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, trying to catch your breath. There is clear differences, between if it's more of, just a maintenance need as opposed to a full-blown attack going on, things like that. So those are some of the differences with that, but on the flip side of that, because on the physical, your energy is going to be better. It's going to, raise up, because also when you start to raise your light quotient, your organs become energized. And so, especially when you do things that energize the kidneys, because our kidneys are the batteries of the body, right? And so, but fear weakens the kidneys, and fear is like, there's really only love and fear. And then love and fear is like the umbrella, that's over all of the other. Anxiety comes from fear. So you can name it all of these different things. Jealousy, that's still fear, so you can break it down into all of these different subcategories all you want to, but the hierarchy of it all is fear. Okay. And then you have love. So fear, weakening the kidneys, just being, a conglomerate of all of these emotional states that literally attacks us from the inside out. Because we're supposed to be, a more peaceful, we're supposed to be able to be connected to the land. We're supposed to be able to be in our awareness and in our intuitiveness, like we're supposed to be having telepathic conversations by now. Okay. On an energetic scale, we're kind of behind. So, we have to build this up. I was having a thought literally today. I was thinking about, like, just in terms of us talking about the fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh dimension and so forth and so forth. And I got to thinking, I'm like, it just almost seemed like, right now we're talking more so about this fourth and fifth dimensional thing. It's really been coming up, the most here lately. But what I'm starting to realize is, just because of how high the tension is on the planet right now, but in good too, whatever side you're on, the God molecule energy is extremely high, and the low vibrational energy, unfortunately, is extremely high. And so you get to choose where you want to vibrate at with your energy currency. It's what you choose, what side, you're choosing, to be on, whether consciously or unconsciously, you're choosing that. But technically, I'm starting to see and feel like, the fourth and fifth dimension is almost the dimension that we have to get to like get out of the rut energy. It's like the fourth and fifth dimension is the dimensions where you start to be able to normalize. It's like those are the normalized, normalized, neutralized feelings, of your light, where you can get the most out of your light quotient, at the fourth and fifth dimension. Yeah, we definitely, so the benefits of Reiki baths, so the benefits of anything energetically is to basically wash off, energies that are stagnant, that need to get washed off of you. Sometimes we're carrying things in our bodies, in our meridians, and in our auric field, and in our chakra system. We're carrying these energy things, and so it can help balance you out, mainly because with the exception of, our beloved Sheikh Sufi, the majority of us, are here in the US, and some other people may be on that are in some other countries. But, here in the West, we've gotten so much allopathic medicine, and we have not had the opportunity to have energy medicine. Because it used to be about the herbal knowledge, and the energy, knowledge, but that energy knowledge got overpowered by, the negative wording of witchcraft and dark magic, and, all of the, the stigma, that has come, against the energy medicine. And so these are the teachings and the things that were lost in time, and now, we're getting to see that again, and that's coming back, and it's being used. So these light codes and these Zikrs are verbal light codes. They build your light quotient. So with that being said, yes, Allah's essence is in these zikrs, are in these du'as, are in these hadiths. It's all there to help build your light quotient. And Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, is the perfect, example of how to use those light codes. He laid it out. How to use it, when to use it, what to say, what to do. I mean, it's right there. So if we have to question, how to use, particular light codes, there's always someone who's sent to give us the manual. So, all right. Any questions about that before I move on? I will open the floor for any questions about what I've said already. All right. So real quick, also, your skin becoming more youthful, it's literally like, listen, when they did that movie, Benjamin Button, they was trying to tell you something. They was telling you about how the possibility of you being able, to tap into, your ability to age, and I won't go as far as saying backwards, but aging, gracefully, aging very slowly, because just like, do you know the reason why tortoises and elephants, tend to live for hundreds of years? Because they're some of the slowest moving animals, and they conserve their energy and they don't use as much energy. So when we think about, kind of tapping into that slowing down, kind of youthfulness process, because taking in more energy and knowledge actually opens you up more. So opening that pineal gland, that pituitary gland, which allows you to take in more of that sun energy. It allows you to take in more of that light quotient energy that you're calling in, to yourself, and the different various forms of light, that you are tapping into as a part of your currency. So you can't help but look brighter. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You have to look brighter when you're taking on more light. You have to. It's a part. It is the beautiful side effect of raising your light quotient. Period. So your hearing is enhanced. And this is talking about your inner hearing as well, being able to hear. Can you identify the voice of God when God is talking to you? And, even if you're a person who is very, open, can you differentiate between your thoughts and other people's energetic thoughts in your circumference? These are some of the more deeper teachings, differentiation. Because, and also, in soul journeying, being able to ask the right questions, is important too, just protection and safety on that level. But also you have, you notice a lack of, no, I'm sorry, you definitely start to rest more and get more sleep, and also less mucus in your body, less mucus. Mucus is really just a substance that basically pulls out a lot of toxins and a lot of things, in the body, and it's like collecting and spewing it out. So, and that's energetic too. I don't know if y'all remember the movie The Ghostbusters. I have to use this as an example. When I watched that movie now, I was on a cruise in June last year with my mother and my sisters, and they had a movie night and Ghostbusters was on. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to look at this. And I was just looking at it from completely different eyes. I was just sitting there having these aha moments. I'm looking at these people at like 1 o'clock in the morning, like, do y'all see this? They're telling all the secrets. They're telling all the secrets. How did we miss this? So I don't know if you remember when they shot some stuff with that zapper, and then it was like this slime. There was this slime. If you remember, there was this slime that flew all over everybody. That's the psychic mucus. That's the representation, of that sticky stuff that comes in and kind of sweeps, and then, and then it needs to come out. So now you sneeze or you need to blow your nose. Like like all of that stuff that you're energetically collecting now has to be able to come out and get pushed out, of the body, and sometimes when you're going through that process, and I'll be very forward in saying, when I went through that process of that opening, that making space, the body can definitely get to a place where all of the toxins and everything just starts to come up and come out. I remember just my skin breaking out and just me just going through, so much. And I talked about that, last month, with just me literally turning inside out, and so that process, is like, again, you're being amalgamized, into this mush, and then, is it any wonder we've been talking about this whole butterfly, concept, in our beautiful Sufi school, just talking about this concept of, the caterpillar going through this amalgamation process, or the chrysalis, stage, before going into being a butterfly. And so this is essentially what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the things that are happening in your amalgamation stages, moving into being a butterfly. But I'm just giving you some of the more, everyday aspects of, what to look for and how you identify that you're changing. Because again, you even not being reactionary anymore. That's why I said in the beginning, you knowing your triggers is the teacher. So, okay, my Babalawo says, ask why at least 3 times. Why am I triggered by that? Because the person said something to me that was out of the way. Okay, well, why did that bother me though? Because it made me feel uncomfortable. But why did that make you feel uncomfortable? Because that's the way my mother used to talk to me. And it made me feel small when I was a child. This is where we start to get to, the deeper, deep-seated, rooted stuff, that we tend to kind of shut out and close out as a coping mechanism, though. And so that's why, even going back to jumping to last month, talking about the plant medicines, these are just tools that help us be able to look around that fog. Let me move this psychic mucus. These medicines, right? They come in, they say, let me move this psychic mucus out of the way. Let me squeak clean your third eye right quick. Let me give you an opening for such and such amount of hours, because we got this music going that's going to help you get across these rocky waters. Okay, come on, wade in the water. Come on now, because listen, I can tell you about what ceremony really is about. It's a bunch of levels of passages going on. That's why we have the music, is it's going to help you get over those troubled waters. There's a reason, I'm saying, there's a reason why the drum is there. There's a reason why these songs, these vibrations, are helping to activate you, to help open up those spaces so that you can see you and sit with you and have a conversation with you and be able to see the deeper levels of how your traumatic experiences, even coming into this place we called Tiamat, Terra, Earth, whatever, Gaia, how all of these things have really affected you from your point of being born up until this very moment. And how it has shown up in your relationships, how it has shown up in your relationship to, Allah, how it has shown up and how you have, interfaced with it, if really at all. There's grown women walking around who don't even know what their natural hair texture look like because, someone, permed their hair when they were very, very young. So there's parts of us that we've had all of our lives, and yet we still don't understand that part of ourselves. So anywho, let's move along. So some of the emotional changes. Your heart chakra begins to open and flower. This is where you find yourself, examining, your thoughts and feelings. And, this kind of ties into the second station of the soul, which I was reading on the Nafslawama, I think is how you pronounce it. But just really just self-examination and asking yourself those questions, like I was saying, just the whys. Why do I have this particular behavior? Why do I respond like this? Why, and this also opens up, you'll find that your space of understanding and compassion starts to open, instead of you judging people for just the basic mundane, like you can identify that someone may be angry or frustrated. And so instead of you responding to someone being angry and frustrated, your response is more so like, maybe they had a bad morning. They could have, someone close to them could be hurt or could have passed, maybe, like you start to give people, more autonomy. You give people more space. Your spatial sense of understanding is open enough for you to see multiple ways of understanding one particular situation. Like you're not just seeing it one way, you're starting to see multiple ways of a situation that could also be true. Instead of going to, one place, everybody a lot of times on some level is processing something, so with that being said, you look to, be able to tap more into some of the other reasons rather than the norm. Okay. So you also, you're sorting through your conditionings. So what are our conditionings? It's kind of like, we come in here, with a much more pure vibration, in our new bodies, because it's just a new body with like this old, soul and spirit, coming into this new body. And, the experiences of what you go through, what you witness, what you were around, the people, that had a hand in protecting you and nurturing you and loving you, all of those things, whatever those conditionings are. We can have good conditionings too, just like we can have good karma. We tend to always hear about, all of the negative conditionings and things like that. But yes, we do have like an energetic inheritance that we receive, and we tend to hear about, the generational curses and, all of the bad stuff and everything. And it's like, yeah, but, but what about the fact that your great grandmother could have been like this extremely loving person? Maybe you inherited that too, you know what I'm saying? And maybe you inherited, that great Aunt Esther, had a heck of a green thumb. She could grow any herb, any plant, maybe you inherited that too, and maybe you don't know, because you haven't had the opportunity, to really tap into that, for yourself to know, what else came in, on your DNA on an ancestral level, besides just the generational curses, that we tend to hear all the time. Let's get into some of the other, some of the other stuff too. What rituals that Aunt Hattie leave on that DNA for you? You need to tap into that because, they leave you some gifts, and when we talk about these ancestral blessings, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, the things that was left for you, to be able to use. And sometimes it is material in the form of land or, houses or, property, things like that, real estate, as we say, but it could also be, in a form of energy. You could have been left, the ability to, have a deeper sense of psychic, ability, a deeper sense of, working with the elements, feeling more connected, to certain elemental things. This could come in a lot of forms, just having a certain strong skill set, naturally, as we call it, just even being, like a natural engineer where you can basically put anything together or do whatever it is, you put your mind to, you have a natural ability. This is going back to the mental thing too, because sequencing and putting parts and pieces together is also a part of when you begin to open up, and expand more. So we're talking about your creativity being able to flourish and flower, so all of a sudden you have all of these amazing ideas that start to come in that you never had before, or the enhancement of an idea or ideas that you previously had already, just all of a sudden begins to just send off these sparks of inspiration, that you find, there's something to be said about, there's so many stories, and you can research this and look this up, which is so amazing. So things like, let's talk about how sometimes our past life energies overlap right quick. You have people that will suffer some kind of accident where they have some kind of head trauma. And then when they come, back into themselves, so to speak, they completely can speak a different language they never spoke before, speaking it as well as understanding it, and sometimes being able to write it too. Just things like that, where there's these little glimpses, that happens, on our side of things, that spirit is trying to communicate that there's all of these layers of things that are going on, simultaneously. Because, who are you on the fourth dimension? Who are you? What is your being, your energy signature like on a 10th dimension or 11th dimension or a 12th dimension? You know what I'm saying? Like, how often in your dreams do you actually see what you look like? Because a lot of times when you're in your dreams, you're not standing in front of a mirror. You're either watching yourself doing whatever it is, or you're looking at yourself doing it from the inside. So many times often you don't even really know what you look like. In your dreams, we assume that we look like what we look like in this dimensional, self, but what do you look like, in the multiverse, if you will? It's just another level of science there, right? All right, so you're downloading and uploading potential, and I just want to say, these things that I'm talking about, I'm going on the fast track with it. However, I am working on a book around this very concept, that I look to have out, this summer, that goes into more details, along with, just crystal prescriptions, energy prescriptions, certain, zikkers, that you can read, that you can do, as well. So it's giving you some different options of light, different options of how to raise, your light quotient, and things like that. So it's really, really important, that we know what to look for, because sometimes in these shifts too, this also can deal with pushing you into kind of feeling like you need to be isolated, or into a space of isolation or hermit mode, if you will, mainly because when you really start to open up and expand, your circle starts to shift and change. And sometimes, you can be by yourself and find that you're lonely a little while, before you start to find your tribe, your people, that are vibrating on, your similar level. So sometimes, it takes a little while for that vibration to point you in the direction, or to find, because you got to remember that, the student is ready, the teacher doesn't appear until the student is ready. So there's a process, right? There's a process, what are all the tools that you have to gather leading up to your chrysalis, okay? Because before you go into that cocoon to amalgamate yourself, there's some things that you have to gather on the way. Okay, this can be representative of carrying that cross. We talk about Christ carrying that cross, carrying those burdens, whatever that is, whatever it is that you needed to gather, those tools, to use in that breaking down, process, which, as I said before, we kind of, they kind of call it like a shamanic death, if you will, but, which is connected to like bat or owl, energy. Why is that? Aren't those two birds that see in the dark? So if you're in a chrysalis where you're being amalgamated back into darkness, okay, we're talking about going back into, the mother space, okay? We're talking about going back into the cosmic, womb, which is what the chrysalis represents, right? So as you're going in there, okay, so from that space, even though your physical is being amalgamated, your spirit is still in there as witness. See, you're still witnessing your recreation. And so when we do it on this side, we're able to be more aware of it because it's intentional. So the downloading is talking about the things that you receive from outward in. So we're talking about your celestial, things that you receive, heavenly celestial downloads, and this is, and this helps to release. These are things that help release the tension, and things around the heart, the blooming aspects, allowing the space to receive the downloads, leading to what is often referred to as, like I said, the aha moments, so you're able to be aware, and things come in. And understand that sometimes there's things that come in that can be so old and so ancient that it takes your body and your brain a minute to process it before you know what exactly the download was. And sometimes it can come in bits and pieces, because you don't want to be shaken. You can't receive like this gust of like a, you know what I'm saying? Because what it does is it literally, I'm telling you, I experienced that, and I'm saying I don't wish that on anybody. Like, seriously, if you want to call in the accelerated program, okay, fine, do as thou want to. But just know that the accelerated program means that you're going to be laid out for a little while. And sometimes it looks like straight up sickness and illness and can't get out your bed and just tired out of your mind, because again, you're in that chrysalis stage. So you can't do all of that stuff that you normally, your regular day-to-day is just not, no, you have to be sat down. For the accelerated program, you have to be sat down. It's not something that you're so easily able to just, do and keep up with your regular, because your whole mind is being, your whole, sense of matter is being cleansed and like washed and, like reformatted, and your header is being cleaned out. You know what I'm saying? Like God just pushed the reset button on you. How you trying to reset and think you about to go to work? And yeah, no, not even. So there's a grace in us having these different stations and these different levels. That is actually a grace, so that we aren't shaken out of ourselves in the process of expanding, because you need to be able to move in sequence, of mind, body, spirit, all at the same time. So if we try to pack in more than the space that's readily available, we can also blow a fuse, as I said, we can, blow a fuse, and it's too much, to force too much energy in our cellular, and molecular structures can be, literally too much. So there's a reason why, there's these levels, I'm saying, that show you what's what, and where you are, levels that kind of gauge, like these checkpoints, I'm kind of giving you guys some checkpoints, and you can look at it that way. So your uploads, okay, because so downloads are from outside coming in, and then you have your uploads. Your uploads are the amazing, beautiful things that are within you, that are dormant, that are now starting to awaken. Okay. And these are also things that you have a little something in you for it, but now you have like a different kind of respect or level. Like, you know, maybe you kind of, you know, you liked a little bit of Fela Kuti, and now you like love Fela Kuti. You know what I'm saying? Like it's also like an enhancement of some things you had already, and then some full on awakening of some things you didn't know you had. So this is where it starts to get good, because now some of those ancestral energies are starting to wake up. That's been dormant. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Aunt Hattie don't woke up. You know what I'm saying? and she got something to say. You know, so all of these other different aspects, you know, start to awaken. You know, your God sense. You know, your connection. You know, more. With the all, you know, with Allah, you know, with nature, with yourself, you know, how you see yourself in relationships.
I can't see it. So funny.
Somebody your phone is muted. Brother Yazid, I think. All right, there we go. Give thanks. Okay, so you're uploading. You know, again, you know, that's talking about the things, you know, to absolutely shout out to Father Albert. I had to call his name, right? So, you know, but those activations, you know, these are all the things on the inside. You know, this is the inside stuff is indicative of the things that you came with. You know, these are the things that you came with, you know, that you brought with you, that is in line to be remembered, you know, and to be reawakened. You know, and so this is where we tap into what we call our purpose, right? You know, where we come to a realization of, you know, what this whole point of our journey is even about, you know, in the first place, you know. And I can pretty much tell you that it definitely should have something to do with love. You know, if love is not at the center of your core, you know, value and reason for being here, you know, you got some work to do, you know, on that. But yeah, just you feeling, you know, more, you know, and wanting to explore, you know, more of those inner things. And just like I said, an overall sense of just a more well-being, you know, a better sense of well-being overall. So of course you have your spiritual shifts, which all of this kind of tied into anyway, but you know, a deeper sense, you know, like you find yourself having a call to want to take better care of your body, you know, as well. You know, this is also, you know, you wanting to meditate more, wanting to pray more. This is where stuff doesn't feel so much like a task, because when you're shifting, you know, sometimes you have to kind of force yourself to do certain things, you know, to create the discipline for it, because you're trying to, you know, reroute. So this is a part of that amalgamation stage, is also being able to change the way that you're thinking, you know, the way that you're seeing things, you know, so that you can release, you know, certain energies and make room for more positive, you know, energies in the first place. But, you know, you have to release something a lot of times to make room to gain something. Okay, so if you're already like this full vessel, and you know that you want to shift, you know, you have to begin to do this work, because what this work does is allows you to begin to ask yourself, what are the things that I need to shift, you know, to you know, to be able to, what needs to shift out so that I can shift in, you know, these new energies, this bigger package of light, you know, that I'm calling in. You know, so many times, often people call in things that you're not actually ready to receive. And so, you know, that's why sequencing and timing is everything. Because if you're not in alignment for what it is that you're asking for, it's not necessarily that your prayers have falling, on, deaf ears with Allah. It's not that at all. It's just the fact that, you're not as ready as you think you are, to receive those things. You haven't actually put yourself in alignment, to actually be fertile enough, to receive that seed, right? Is your soil fertile for the seed that you're asking for? You want to be rooted in something, right? So, that seed and that soil combination has to be, it has to be on point. It has to be the right amount of, all of the necessary compounds, in order for you to get, the highest outcome of whatever you're trying to grow. So what do your crops look like? What do you want those crops to look like? So this is where, you also start to fall into alignment with, magnetizing things, as we say, just kind of being able to call in things, just tapping into your higher frequencies, but more so at will. I don't think we fully understand our power, as human beings. We can feel very limited in our bodies, but only because you haven't come to a realization that you are not the body. And so when we think about things, like, I'll give you an example, because sometimes I have to give examples, that kind of make my point a little better. Like, for instance, when we breathe, right? We know that for those 10 months that, we were in the womb, for some of us, you were preemies, but you get the point, right? If you were, we're going to say on normal, if you was in the womb for, 10 months, you're in this water, in this amniotic fluid, which when we talk about the macro and the micro, the inner representing the outer, as above, so below, we're talking about levels, so with that being said, we know that, we sustained, this body for that long inside of this water, right? And so when we talk about the lungs and we talk about, just breathing and things like that, there's this part where, we were breathing through the umbilical cord, and, that oxygen and blood barrier exchange is, how the baby would breathe, because the baby's, nose was, plugged up with the mucus, so they couldn't breathe through the nose. And so there's all of these, limiting concepts, I'll say. But what if I told you that if you decided to meditate and say that I can still breathe through my body, beyond even my nose and my mouth, because I've already done it before. I just forgot because nobody told me that I still could. And because I got sidetracked by all of these conditionings, that I forgot that I could actually still breathe through my pores, that I can still pull in oxygen into my lungs through my pores, oxygenate my blood through my pores. Now, this is a part of, we talk about people who can hold their breath for a long time. They tend to tap into that energy knowingly or unknowingly. But what I'll tell you, this is one of the secrets of, a lot of singers. When you hear these singers and you're trying to figure out, how did they hold that key so long? Where did all of that extra air come from? That is exactly the difference. Because even I know, me being a singer, I had to unlock that and come to this realization when it comes to taking in breath for hitting certain long, notes, or holding, certain keys, like being able to literally like breathe in more air than just what your lungs can take in, but also what you're actually breathing in, even energetically, just it's something when you come to that realization, and as you're singing, you find these extra layers and gusts of air that you just don't have unless you really, know that it's there. It's a knowing. The difference is you knowing and no longer believing that it's possible, and like knowing it and like testing it. This is why we say we're alchemists. We're like, spiritual scientists, is because, there's so many more things that, we can do or that we have done that we no longer do. And so this spiritual ascension becomes a reminder, of those things, just the fact that there's places you can press, on your body, that brings a fever down. Why don't we know these things? So and I look to teach, more on that, in other classes, pressure points, for healing, bringing down a fever. You got a baby with a 100-degree temperature, crying. One thing for sure is, if there's a pressure point that you can hit to bring that baby's temperature down, it definitely brings the anxiety of the whole house down, because nothing like a screaming baby that, has a migraine, going on. And, to be able to know some of these things that we've lost, about just the magic, the so-called body magic, if you will, or, and I won't even say magic, but just the science of self, the science of, the physical, we have so much of the science, we have a lot of spiritual science, and systems. We have a lot of, psycho, mental, science. We have, so many of those things. And then, we still have to really work on, some of that physical science more so. Like we've kind of mastered like how to feed ourselves for the most part. We know about live enzymes and green foods and wheatgrass and, kale salad and, fasting, and, doing, just Ramadan. We've tapped into a good bit into a lot of the, that aspect of the physical, but we haven't really gotten into the aspects of the physical that has to do with, more so the alchemy, side of the physical, which again, that's why I have so much respect for traditional Chinese medicine, is because they really, kept a lot of that information intact for us. Our ancestors from those waters, made sure that, those teachings, was maintained, safely, there for us. And it really, just, it talks about so much more, stuff, over there, when you really talk about dissecting, just the organs and how too much heat in the body, affects, you from the inside out, and, what those ailments look like, and, and how you can fix them, through, and they deal with the energy, the herbal, and, just the yoga and more so the energy, movement type of, systems, because those are the things that work with the meridian system to, get energy to break through, those mucus pockets or those energy blockages or pockets, so that you can move some stuff out, so you can bring some good stuff in and get that stuff out of the way, because those are the things energetically that's keeping you from you in the first place. So they all work together, they all work together, Allah gave us the fruits and the medicines, of the physical, natural world, to work with, and gave us the spiritual word and the light codes, and all of the different forms, of prayer, and fasting and cleansing of the body that, Sheikh, Wali just spoke to us, about, Wednesday, and just all of these things go together. It's the management and balancing of our four major body systems. What is that? That's your spiritual, that's your emotional, that's your mental, and that's your physical bodies. And so if you ask me, having all four of those things in perfect harmony and balance is what we would call, a fully functioning human being, a fully God-sensed human being, a being who, is walking, the highest path, of Allah's light. Is having, those four things, in perfect harmony with each other. Okay. So that's kind of, a nice little opening, with, just speaking in terms of some of the things, that you can, look to expect, on your journey. And just those shifts, again, don't be afraid to, lose your comfort zones. Don't be afraid, to lose those circles. Sometimes, it's family and relatives that, you have a hard time with, when you start to shift, because, you're seeing things on a different level. And sometimes we start talking about those things and with the wrong people. And so now everybody think that, you're out of your mind. But just know that that stage doesn't tend to be for always. It's kind of like you shake up things, and then after things settle back down and all of the smoke and mirror clears, things come back around to a healthier balance, because again, it's the fact that you're amalgamating yourself, and so you're coming out on another side. So it's literally almost like you have to reintroduce yourself to everybody anyway. So it's like, hey, this is who I really am. I'm no longer hiding who I am and what I feel, what I know, what I believe, and so either you accept me for who I am or you don't. But, either way, I'm going to find my tribe of people that are going to, accept me, for who I am. And so once you become that comfortable within yourself, and you don't have to question, yourself about that, and you're comfortable in your skin, who can take that from you? Who can, besides you relinquishing that and giving people permission to take that from you, who can actually take that from you? Nobody but you can take that from you. Because the more you find that comfortable space, to sit in within yourself, and you recognize, that you should be a force to be reckoned with. You deserve to be respected, and you deserve to be honored, and you deserve to be, loved, and you also deserve to love. And so that's the ultimate, journey. And ultimately, with all things said, where we're moving towards is, you want to get to your highest levels of, wisdom, and understanding. Wisdom is really just the gathering of all of your information and knowledge actively being applied gives you wisdom. Because applying that information and knowledge over time, there's a song, that says, in our journey, we all shall learn. And, what that says is, as you're doing the work, as you go, you're going to learn, step by step. And that's what the walking and living in faith is really about, just taking it step, by step. And sometimes you don't know what the third step is until you get to the second step, and that's what the faith part is. Like, I know this is going to work out. I have a vision of this working out. I don't have all the answers between here and there, but I'm still moving forward. But as you go, as you start to, again, remove that fog and get closer and deeper into yourself, the more is revealed, and, the more leaps and bounds, you begin to make, because you know, we roll and then we crawl and then we walk and then we sprint and then we just take off running, you know, and then next thing you know, we're flying. So this whole, you know, descent, the whole descent, you know, it's literally the crawling, you know, to the being, you know, lifted up and into the air, you know, journey that we're talking about. You know, we're literally talking about, you know, getting off your stomach to stand on your feet, to then sprout your wings and take a leap into who you really are. And that's the light of Allah. So on that note, I'm going to, you know, end this presentation on that. I would love to open up the floor for any questions, but I'm going to read over right quick, see if I may have missed anything. All right, I don't think so. Okay. All right. Have any questions, comments? I'd love to hear it. No.
Bismillah, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Oracle of Fire, all praises. That was fire. I appreciate you so much. This coming from a mental health background, and I appreciate you articulating, tying in the mental health with just the spiritual health, all praises, and with even with the Sufism and mentioning the different levels of the soul. So this is I just appreciate how you brought it to a real practical articulation kind of, and yeah, I'm just looking at a lot of new names in today. So assalamu alaikum to everybody. I'm not sure of some of these new names. This may be the first time someone's listened to us or come to the Darrah and her sister Zema Love Fire speak, all praises. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you for that. And I had a comment. It'll come back to me. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Astaghfirullah. Sheikh Sufi does say that this path is a marathon and not a race. So all
That's
those
right.
things that you mentioned, yeah, we definitely see and experience those things. That's what I was gonna ask you. I know you mentioned it seemed like you mentioned a lot of the positive things that we may experience during the spiritual growth, and kind of were there any the negatives that you touched on per se?
Yeah, that's what I was saying towards the end, you know, just kind of losing, you know, your comfort zone. Yeah, you know, your friends changing, your circle changing, you know, yeah, food aversions, you know, not wanting to be in big crowds, not wanting to be around a lot of people, not wanting to be around certain types of energies, you know, just wanting to be in more cleaner, healthier environments, you know, that are more holistic, you know, more holistic environments, you know, that club scene, that hole in the wall is not doing it for you no more. You know, you're finding yourself, you know, a more of a spiritual pilgrimage, you know, wanting to go to more temples and more spiritual places and traveling, you know, to more spiritual sites, you know, and things like that. You know, you feel more drawn, you know, so yeah, that collapsing, you know, of the old paradigm stuff in you that's trying to awaken, you know, to your new, you know, paradigm, you know, like I said, that's pulling you out of your comfort zone. So with that being said, it's the constant challenges, you know, of things trying to beat you back into submission, because there's a strong energy of submission in this third dimensional energy. And so when you're trying to raise that vibration and get out of there, it's like, oh, I want to do this, but oh, now I got to think about my job. Oh, my job says I can't have this afro. I can't wear these braids. Like, you know, there's always these little microaggressions and these little things that are constantly challenging you to really be strong in who you are. And so sometimes that means that you have to make a decision, an uncomfortable decision, to not have something temporarily in order to, you know, trust the process. And so sometimes it does look like some losses, you know, before you get those gains, but it's really about the transmutation of what's happening. You may not really see where it's going, but there's those temporary drops, that happen, that make you wonder, am I doing the right thing? But it's a part of it. It's a part of it. So yeah, I hope I answered that question.
Alhamdulillah, Darrah.
Yeah.
I digress. Anybody, please open the floor.
Assalamu alaikum, sis.
Alaikum salam, Shaq. Just how are you?
I am well now. That was a wonderful, wonderful presentation. I just wondered if you could key in on one or two things that were instrumental for you in navigating through the transition of moving from the dunya mindset into more of the spiritual path. A couple of things that might have been of good assistance to you, like maybe crystals or besides or both or all.
So yes, wonderful question. So I got kind of thrown in on the accelerated program. So that's why I was saying I don't really recommend, that way. But I think for those who really kind of get into, for me, what I'm saying too is, for me, it came on the end of, just really, using some of the plant medicines, was really helpful for me to be able to kind of have a jump, in evolution in a sense, and to be able to see some things, from around myself, if you will, but from the inside out and the outside in, so to speak. And I think, that process for me, it kind of started to spark a lot of other things, because for me, it brought in the awareness. And so, but getting deep into, the meditation, that was something that was really, really profound with me, as well as, just being strong. I had a lot of teachers show up. This journey, for me, also just the guidance, so having, Sheikh Sufi and, and having, the teachings of Amadou Bamba and Sheikh Ibrahim and all of these amazing, teachers also just helping, guiding along the way, because these teachings and these writings are also light code activators. When we read the Quran, when we read, certain hadiths, when we read certain things, we zikr certain things, those things are, light code enhancers, that also helps you kind of get through it, because for me, I had to become active in doing, what my purpose is. And what I mean by that is, for me, it was literally like a burning in my solar plexus. If I received a message to move on something or to do something or to teach, gather for a particular kind of class or presentation or something, if I didn't do the work, I literally would feel like this burning kind of sensation, like in my lower back and like across my solar plexus. And I finally started to realize that it was literally like having this fire burning inside of you, this fuel to like feed something. But because whatever it is you're supposed to be using it to feed is not getting done, so it's like you just have this internal heartburn kind of feeling because you haven't given it an exit point. And you was told what the exit point is, but you're not allowing the exit point to happen. So now it's literally like, causing you, like these uncomfortable things, but those moments teaches you to look for other types of healing to deal with that. So with what you said, yes, that did kick me into wanting to understand more about crystals and, different healing modalities and, vibrational therapy and sound therapy and, utilizing all of these different type of, light tools and things like that. And also, working with the Reiki energies, that was huge, even to the point where, working with the energy medicine and then working with the plant medicines, and how the two of those would actually have this conversation that I kind of get to be privy on about how, not so much cleansing, is needed, because you've been working with the energy so much. So it kind of made it to where, the plant medicines needed to do less and less, because my light quotient was coming up more and more. So to kind of answer your question, Sheikh Idris, I think, the more you, just the more you're doing the work, and the more you kind of stick to it, because regardless of, honestly, what also did it for me was regardless of whatever discouragement was happening, I had to make up my mind to keep going. No matter what I was feeling, no matter how left out I may have been feeling, just being my own cheerleader, saying, no, you can do this. No, keep going, keep pushing, like, don't give up. This is just a test, just really leaning on my strength, as much as possible, really got me through a lot, a lot of, stuff. And just knowing, when people say this too shall pass, sometimes that's a real reality that I think is overlooked, a lot. Sometimes what seems like a long time is not that long, but when we start panicking and feeling, lonely or some kind of angst, in ourselves, we start to kind of, let in all of the impurities, the why this won't work, and why I should give up, and why I should stop, and why I should, just like, I don't know, go back to being regular. I mean, what are your options? If you come to a certain place, of spiritual growth and knowledge, where you can only keep going forward, because to go backward is so counterproductive. Like, where can you even go? Where can you go? There's nowhere else to go, because you can't unlearn and unknow what you already know, and you can't unlearn and unsee what you already have seen, so to speak. So once you're locked into a particular, frequency, it's like what Dick Gregory said. It's like, it's a double-edged sword. You put on these shades or these glasses that helps you see everything. And so you can't unsee what you saw, you know what I mean? Just because you take the glasses off, don't change the fact that what you saw when you had them on, it's still there. So yeah, that's self-honesty, and just the desire to really want to be well. That's the best thing. Yeah, the desire to want to be well. Mind, body, and spirit, is what you have to feed off of. Your desire and thirst to be a well person. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Assalamu warahmatullah, Oracle.
Assalamu alaikum.
What meditations would you suggest starting out?
So, I tell people to keep it really simple. I feel like where we have gotten with meditation, we've gotten way off, the Richter scale, in the sense that, there's this one way. Oh, you need to sit still and sit Indian style, and, you need to put your hand in some mudras, or like this, or, and try to quiet the mind, and keep all of these thoughts in this pure white light in your mind. And it's so not reality, especially when you're first starting. It may take a couple of months, and I'm going to tell you, honestly, just sitting and just allowing all of your thoughts to just come in and flow out. We don't really let things come in and flow through us and flow out. And what I'm saying is, it may take a couple of months of you just doing that. And I'm saying it's going to be it's going to go through layers. You know, the first layer is all of the things that you need to do. Oh, you know, I need to pay my phone bill tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to, you know, take the chicken out the thawed and for dinner. Oh, I need to get my clothes ready for work. Oh, I forgot to do this for the kids. Oh, I didn't pick up that prescription. It's your first layer of thoughts is usually going to be task oriented. You got to get through that part. You know, so I'm a big fan of like subconscious, you know, programming, like listening to like binaural beats and, you know, different types of meditation as you're sleeping, you know, because when we program that subconscious through, you know, that sleep realm, it reprograms the conscious. So sometimes we're overworking. Sometimes we can get a lot done, you know, in the dream realm. You know, sometimes we can get, you know, in this third dimensional, you know, kind of realm. So after you kind of get through the work task type of stuff, you know, then you start to get into the portion of the inner workings of self, where you start to ask yourself, okay, you know, why am I the way I am? You know, what are the things, you know, that are you know, under the surface, you know, because after you get that stuff out the way, then you can be able to open up to what your conditionings are. And then you start really thinking about your childhood, you know, and some of those things start to, you know, surface a little more, you know, and then you get to a place where, you know, you really kind of come to this realization, honestly, where you kind of sift through all of that stuff to come to the realization that none of that stuff actually really matters as much as you think it did. You just needed to dance with it just a little bit longer. You know, like there's something, you know, where we become reminded that what is the reason that you actually need to hold on to that pain? What is the reason why you actually need to feel that depression and disappointment over that same situation over and over again? What are you getting out of it to keep rehashing it and talking about it over and over again? There becomes a point where you realize your redundancy and how you've been dealing with your traumas. You know, you also, you know, realize that you don't have to, you know, act out the pain of whatever you've been told that should look like. You know, and you actually can be free of it, you know, and create healthier, more beautiful, you know, outcomes and situations that also usurp the power, you know, of those negative situations. So this is how we begin to neutralize, you know, a lot of those, you know, things that we need to work on. Is you start to deal with it head on, only to realize that it's not the scary monster that we've made all of these things to be. You know, some of them are, but it's sometimes we can turn an anthill into Mount Kilimanjaro. And then you have to come to that realization that, you know, you're actually bigger than what happened to you. What happened to you is not actually bigger than you. And that's where you find, you know, your place of power. Anyone else have a comment or a question? If not, we'll get ready to wrap up. No? Okay. Well, if thanks, you know, for everyone here, you know, for listening and being present, you know, continue to have, you know, may we all continue to have an amazing, you know, Ramadan, you know, in our last week, you know, so sending so much love, you know, to you and your families, you know, and if you are interested, you know, in a reading, or, you know, I'm also organizing, you know, our retreat this July. So if you are interested, you know, you can definitely reach out to me at zemalufire@gmail.com, or any of the groups, you know, I'm there. If you want to sign up to come, it's going to be really beautiful. If you need a personal reading, you know, you can inbox me or reach out to me at zemalufire@gmail.com. And I'm just grateful, thank you to, Sheikh Sufi Ba. Thank you to all the amazing, Sheikhs in the order. I appreciate you all, allowing me to be here and in this space, and just so much thanks and gratitude, to everyone. And, I hope that, everyone, got something, that they can take with them from what I've shared here tonight.
Hi, Zema.
Yes.
Yes. So for the women's circle, is it on Saturdays?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So the women's circle is Saturday mornings, which is tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're usually on there for a good couple of hours. We do, some zikr and just, have some, beautiful divine, sister time and chat. So we share the links, in the groups, in the morning. So you can, log in, at 8 o'clock and just chime in. So yes.
Can you guys record it? I'm sorry, my puppy. This is why I can't come I have to have dog training session on Saturday morning. Can you be recording it?
We don't typically record it because it's just usually, we're just having, private conversations and things like that. So we don't tend to, record, the women's zikr group. So, it's just for, whoever's able to make it, just to be a part of, that conversation. But yeah. And so Sister Carolyn, I don't know if she's on here, and Sister Asia, I don't see one of them on here, but they tend to spear as far as kind of being, the MCs, of the women's zikr circle. So, but yeah, I know as of yet, we have not been recording any of the classes. Okay. So with that being said, we can close out if Sheikh Mustafa wants to with, a beautiful dua, it would be wonderful, inshallah.
Astaghfirullah, I was gonna ask for your al-Fatiha, all praises. For that. Inshallah, I got you. If you unless you want to just recite that al-Fatiha, I ain't gonna stop you.
Okay, I can do that, and were you gonna do something after me?
No, I would not pray after you. That al-Fatiha would be beautiful, all praises.
Okay.
Inshallah.
Okay. Bismillah. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Idina ya Ibudina ya Nasta'in. Idina Siratal Mustaqim. Siratal Athina Lamta Alayhim. Gabriel Magdubi Alayhim. Wala Dolin. Ameen. Give thanks. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your night and a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next time.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hello. Yes.
Well, I am from other country. I am from Ecuador, South America.
Yes.
And I wanted to know if there is a group where I can join for man seeker.
Well, do you have a pen and paper?
A pen and a paper.
Well, I can give you a number.
Well,
Astaghfirullah, are you in the are you not in any of the WhatsApp groups, beloved?
no, I don't have the WhatsApp group. I was the year ago, but right now I don't have it.
If you give me 1 minute, inshallah, or I'll get you. If you could put your information in the chat, inshallah, and we'll send you a link, inshallah. Roberto, I did see you in classes before. Astaghfirullah.
Yes, I think I have you on Instagram. You are the Sheikh.
I'm just Brother Deep Thoughts. Astaghfirullah. Sheikh Sufi is the Sheikh. All praises.
Mm-hmm.
But inshallah, if you drop your information in the chat real quick, I'll copy your number and I'll contact you on WhatsApp. We'll send you a link, inshallah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean. Assalamu alaikum to the family. All praises. May everybody have a beautiful weekend, inshallah. We'll be back on Sunday, 11 a.m. with Sheikh Sufi Ba, Quran intensive continuation, inshallah. Oh, and Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 8:30, WKK Kun Fine Cool Radio. Oh, no more music by the suckers. All praises. Come see Zema Love Fire at 7:30. Give the reading and the breathing. All praises. Better justice, the Oracle of Fire.
Better Jeff Sheikh Salam, family. Peace.
Peace.
Wa alaikum salam, family. Give thanks, Sister Zema Love Fire. That was a fire teachings.
Thanks.
Assalamu alaikum, fire. Assalamu alaikum, family. Love and light. Every Jeff. Zema Love Fire. Or
Shukran.